All right, this man, man, it's just too much going on with this Kyrie stuff, man. It's showing a lot of people's true colors, a lot of analysts, a lot of former players, a lot of black people that got platforms. It's showing their true colors. I mean, we knew we had a lot of sellouts in the media, but man, my God, man, I don't think we have anybody in the media that's just not totally sold out. And it's becoming abundantly clear with all this stuff that's going on with Brooklyn Nets and Kyrie Irving. And I don't think they like being called out and being called sellouts. So you see a lot of them coming out and apologizing, backpedaling, giving half truths, trying to still play both sides. It's not like it used to be where you could just say whatever you want to say about a player. We just go take it sitting down, and that's what it's gonna be. That's how it's gonna be. You're gonna appease your bosses with a certain talking point or a certain narrative, no matter how bad it makes a player look, and there's nothing we can do or say about it. It's a little bit different with this Kyrie situation, and the way social media has responded has caused people like Jalen Rose to come out and apologize for some of the things he said, and even Shannon Sharp, LeBron James, Stephen A. Smith, they're coming out and saying, "Hey, look, man, y'all going too far with this punishment." So I'm gonna play Jalen Rose comments uh, initially, what his initial comments was, and then what he had to come back and say to defend his blackness. And anytime you coming on to defend your blackness, you know you messed up. Like if you gotta come out on national TV and try to prove to someone that you're down, that's when you really know that you screwed up. And Jalen was trying to do that. A lot of people are trying to do that too. I'm gonna play what he had to say. Before I play that, though, I do want to say one thing. The most famous sellout that we have, whether you believe the Bible is true or not, is Judas selling out the Messiah for 30 shekels or 30 pieces of silver, right? And when you watch movies depicting that situation, you see after the fact, after he sold Jesus out, and when he's seeing them capture him, punish him, whip him, and then eventually kill him, you see Judas living with that guilt, almost as if, yeah, I sold him out, but I didn't know it was going to get this bad, right? I didn't know this was going to happen. And it caused Judas to ultimately commit suicide. And the same thing played out in real life. If you've seen the movie Judas and the Black Messiah, that was depicting a informant, a FBI informant that infiltrated the Black Panther Party, set up well, he didn't know he was setting them up, but he was given so much intel, it led to them being able to, you know, I mean, what do you want to say? Infiltrate, not infiltrate, but kind of invade their living spaces, and it led to the death of Fred Hampton, who was the leader of the Black Panther Party. And when this guy gave an interview, you can go see that interview right now on YouTube. He didn't live a week after that interview aired. Like, that guilt was so bad on him, he killed himself. So I'll say all that to say this: what you're seeing right now with people like LeBron James, Stephen A. Smith, and Shannon Sharp coming out and saying, "Okay, Brooklyn Nets, you're going too far," right? Only thing that is the guilt of them knowing that what they said on national TV was the gateway, or probably even the catalyst that helped them lead to this punishment that they're giving Kyrie now. Like, the energy that they needed to go at Kyrie like that, they couldn't have done it without black people with the platform coming on and collectively coming against Kyrie in that way. But and that's when they say, they saying that he has no backing, no one speaking for him. And we know what media does, it shapes everyone's mind. So if we can get the media to be on our side and speak a certain way, we can sway the minds of the masses. Therefore, once we go in for the kill shot, no one is going to be in an uproar about it. They're going to say he deserved it. Except it backfired, because they went in for the kill shot, and not as many people was asleep as they thought. You still got a lot of us that's out there like, he deserved this. But it's probably even more people saying this is some bull crap. right? So it made it a little bit more difficult. But I play what Jalen Rose had to say, and then I come back and get commentary.
Just because I don't agree with Kanye or Kyrie, that don't mean that I'm cooning for the man. That means that I don't believe what he doing is right. That's a fact. And so it's important for people that look like me, Jacoby, in particular, to not politicize what's happening with Kyrie and Ime and Kanye and shoot the messenger. I ain't gonna always ride with somebody just because they black. If I think you wrong, I don't care what color you are. That's just being real. I ain't about to be following behind nobody that I think is wrong. And let me tell y'all something else. What he doing ain't an act of civil rights. He's not being oppressed. He ain't being oppressed. He getting $40 million to play basketball this year. He ain't being oppressed. So I just had to say that. And woosah.
So you heard what Jalen Rose said. He said a couple of things that stuck out, 3 things that stuck out. One, he's not following behind nobody just because they're black if he thinks they're wrong, right? My question to Jalen Rose is, do you think what Brooklyn Nets are doing to Kyrie is wrong right now, right? Regardless if it's a response to something they feel like he did, is it wrong what they're doing? Because if you think what the Brooklyn Nets is doing is wrong and you're supporting it, right, then you are following behind someone, right? You're just choosing not to follow behind a person that obviously got a lot in common with you. You're not riding with someone that shares your background, shares your skin color, shares all that stuff. You're not riding with them because they're black. That's what you said. Just because you're black, I'm not riding with you. But you are riding with the people that represent Brooklyn Nets, and they're wrong. So you can't say you won't ride with someone if you think they're wrong, because I know you think the Brooklyn Nets, what they're doing is wrong, but you're riding with them. You're not speaking up against them. You came out, and you don't have to ride with someone, right? You really don't. Like if you're following code, if you're on code, if I got a platform on national TV, right, and I know what I'm going to say is going to speak volumes and it's going to speak to millions of people, just like y'all saying that Kyrie has a responsibility not to tweet a movie out that might have potential harmful material in it, right? You have that same responsibility as a person of color that has a platform. You know what? I know I can go for a kill shot on my brother right now, but I'm gonna keep silent, right? If you ain't got nothing good to say, don't say it at all. Just because you on the platform don't mean you owe a kill shot to your brother. Because ain't nobody giving Brett Favre no kill shot. So you don't owe him a kill shot. And you don't give someone you might not be the person that do the kill shot, but you don't give someone permission to go do it themselves, or you don't say something that's gonna facilitate that. And when y'all go on there on national TV and call this man an idiot, I'm not saying Jalen Rose personally did it. I know Barkley and Shaq did, but when someone come out there and call that man an idiot, and you don't call that out and say that's what we're not going to do, it's not enough for you to say, well, I'm not going to call him an idiot. But if you sitting beside a guy that is coming at him that hard, like Michael Wilborn, Stephen A. Smith, Shaq, Charles Barkley, the way how hard they come at them, and you sit there and let that ride, you might as well be saying it, right? So you might not be calling him an idiot and all this stuff, but you're facilitating, you're letting it ride, right? So that's what you owe. That's called being on code, and that's why we're saying you're selling out. If you think he was wrong, shut up. Just chill. If you think he was wrong, don't say nothing that's going to let the Brooklyn Nets do what they end up doing. Giving this man 6 items that he would have to strip himself down spiritually naked humiliate himself to do those 6 items. And he's not going to be able to get back on the basketball court because he's not going to finish those 6 items. And those 6 items exist because people like you, Jalen Rose, and Shaq, and Charles Barkley, and Stephen A. Smith, and LeBron James, and C.J. McCollum sold this man out. Right? And that's why that's there. But he also said something else. He said that the oppression thing, and that's why I have the definition up there. You must didn't read the definition of oppression. Subject to harsh and authoritarian treatment. That's exactly what Kyrie is going through. I mean, everyone already agreed those 6 items to get him back on the basketball court was harsh and too much, and it's and a little bit extra, and all of the above, right? It's not fair. All that stuff. That's the harsh. That's the oppression. You think that a person, just because he make money, can't be oppressed by a system or a boss or a team? You absolutely can be. Authoritarian treatment can happen everywhere where there's authority, and the authority that you work for or work with can be harsh, and this is exactly what they're doing now, right? So I don't think Jalen looked at the definition before he made that comment, and then he prophetically said that he can't be oppressed because he's making $40 million. And I thought that was interesting because this book actually called The $40 Million Slave, written by William Roden in 2006. It's funny that you had the number 40 million in your head when you said he can't be oppressed because he's making $40 million. And if you read this book, you'll understand how you can make $40 million and not only be oppressed, but also be a slave, right? Read just the last 2 lines of the description on the back of this book. William Roden said, the power that black athletes have today is as limited as when masters forced their slaves to race and fight. The primary difference is today's shackles are often of the athlete's own making, right? Powerless. Like Kyrie Irving is powerless, and he's one of the highest paid players in the NBA, right? Don't have any power. He can't even tweet. He can't even have power over his own social media. He got $40 million. He's making $40 million, but he can't even say what he want to say. He can't even practice his own religion in peace because someone else's religions that doesn't agree with it. You mean to tell me if my religion tells me that my people are the original Hebrew Israelites, but another people religion tells them the same thing, you mean to tell me I'm the one who can't share that with my Twitter followers? I can't share a movie that tells me who I am. The name of the movie was Hebrews to Negroes, Wake Up Black America. That movie was to a specific group of people. Negroes, Black America. It wasn't about nobody else. The basis of that movie was to tell black people in America who they are. The name of the movie is not specific to bashing another group. That's not what the movie is about. The movie is about, hey, Black America, this is who you are. You mean to tell me if my religion believes I'm the black Hebrew Israelites, the original Hebrews, that I can't share a movie to my people that follow me? And if it offends someone who also thinks the same thing, I'm the one who got to suppress it, but they can say it loud and proud? What sense do that make? So yes, you can make $40 million and be oppressed, and you can make $40 million and still be a slave as well, right? If I don't own my own voice, I can't even say what I want to say. He can't even go make a living no more. They saying you pretty much got to do what we tell you to do, or you can't get back on this basketball court. And the way y'all talked about this man on national TV has given them permission to treat him that way, treat him that harshly, oppress him. So yeah, oppression can happen to a $40 million man. That $40 million can be taken away just like that. If you can take something away from me, you own me. You own me. So let's hear his apology.
So I went back and looked at the video that I recently did where I acknowledged how I didn't necessarily see eye to eye with the approach, not only of missing games for your team, but the approach of understanding that when you're an athlete, we're required to be role models. And so when I watched the video, I didn't like a couple of the examples that I used. I didn't like the phrasing of how I used about saying Kyrie wasn't oppressed. I didn't like the example about how much he's getting paid, because those two items don't mean that you're not oppressed based on the definition. And so it takes a man to acknowledge when he feels like he was off key, off tone. So I just want to acknowledge and apologize for myself to my people, because as I talk to some people that I really love and respect, they enlightened me on the fact that even if I disagree, there's a way to do it like a G. And also, what I want you to know, when someone does disagree, in particular, Blacks, when we disagree with each other, we can't be questioning each other's blackness. Ain't nothing gonna stop me from being Black. Ain't nothing gonna take away from the time, energy, and passion that I did to pull myself up by my bootstraps and make a name for myself. So again, my apology is to my people, because somebody that I really respect, that's influential, as a public figure, he told me there are some things that can be said, and even if they right, it can't get said by you.
That's interesting, because that's kind of what I just said earlier. Like it ain't your job to come out here and help them bash a guy, right? You can keep your mouth closed. You can sit this one out, right? When it comes to topics and situations that are very touchy subjects like this one is, right? If you ain't coming out to help your brother with what you about to say, then don't say it. That's the code. That's the code that every other demographic of people are following, except poor Black people or Black people in general. We're not following that code. I hear all the time people say, just because you're Black doesn't mean I'm going to agree with you. You don't have to agree with me. I don't agree with everything a Black person says, but I'm not, if I got a platform as huge as the platform that ESPN is, I'm not about to go on that platform and bash that man or that woman. That's just cold, right? And I'm not ashamed to say that, because when you observe everything, every other demographic of people is doing it. Women, you don't see women like right now. We got women on ESPN that they're not going to keep their mouth closed if they see Ime Udoka about to get a job. They're not going to keep their mouth closed if someone like Jalen Rose says, "Why haven't we heard from the other party, the female who did this thing? They violated work policy," right? You came out there and had to apologize. That's women sticking for their demographic, right? So you got a women demographic to do it. Asian demographic, I've seen that they've called Stephen A. Smith to the front of the room and said, "You're not about to talk about old Tommy the way you just did." And they had a whole episode of First Take dedicated to putting Stephen A. Smith to task with an Asian a member of the Asian community on there, schooling him on Tommy. And Stephen A. just sitting there eating that crow and nodding his head and getting talked to like a little boy. I've seen that. You definitely ain't about to mess with the LGBT. You definitely ain't about to mess with the community that Kyrie Irving supposedly offended, right? And when those situations are happening, and when you're in the midst of it, I've yet to see one Asian, one female, one LGBT, one Jewish person community come out and speak against the crowd. If the crowd is saying we're offended, I don't see another person with a platform come out and say that's BS. I'm calling foul. Right? But every single time, if a black person calls foul and say, hey, this ain't right, you always got a black person with a platform that's going to come out and virtue signal and try to show their bosses, look, I can be fair. Right? It's almost like y'all in a contest on who can be more fair. I can be fair. Watch me call out someone that's of my race. Watch me call them out. That's how professional I can be when no one else is playing by those rules. Only us are playing by those rules. Only we are playing by those rules.
And I appreciate that. I want to also acknowledge something else. It's very important that we as a people try not to take our current state of affairs in the United States and compare them to slavery. If you really look back at the history of slavery, certain terms that people are using are truly painful and disrespectful to that era.
No, it's not. It's not, because just like the book says, slavery just transformed. It had a facelift. It's no longer physical, right? We helping them enslave us, right? We helping them enslave us by thinking inside the box. So we inside the box so bad, like we don't even have enough people that want like look at this situation with Kyrie Irving right now. Kyrie Irving can't get on the basketball court, and there's no other league in America that he can go to. There's only one professional basketball entity in America. You got semi-pro, you got you got development leagues, stuff like that. You gotta leave America to go find another league like the NBA, right? So he couldn't even go, like, if the ABL still exists, I just go over there, right? I just go play over there, right? We don't even have that, right? So there's no one even thinking like, you know what? Okay, you can have the NBA. Kyrie during 2020, before they went to the bubble, he said, look, man, let's just start our own league. We black people haven't been together like we were during the George Floyd thing. We was together, right? And we could have got some stuff done. People was boycotting the NBA, baseball, all that stuff because of George Floyd. And we were somewhat together. And Kyrie saw that as an opportunity. Look, the NBA suspended because of COVID. Plus we out here protesting all this stuff. This is the perfect opportunity for us to leave the plantation and be self-sufficient. And everybody looked at Kyrie like, you're crazy. Why would you do that? Because of what's going on right now. Because right now, you can't even tweet out a movie that tells you about your heritage because somebody got offended by you trying to educate your people about our heritage. And now you can't even play. And now the Players Association can't even help you. And the media members are sure not going to help us. Right? Wouldn't it have been nice if we had a league of our own? It ain't even got to be 30 teams. It could have been half of that. It could have been 15 teams. Imagine if we had a league of our own with a black commissioner and 15 black owners. Because when you look at the NBA, all the owners are white males. You got one white female. You got one black male. And you got Mark Cuban, whatever he is. I think he's Hispanic, but he's also Jewish. I don't know what that is, right? So if you look at that, that's 30 teams. You only got one black person. One. And he just happened to be the best basketball player that ever played. You mean to tell me that's the criteria for a black man to get a team? You got to be the GOAT. Like, you got to be the GOAT to get a team as a black man. You got to be the GOAT. You got to be the GOAT that also kept your mouth closed your whole career. Right? You got to be the GOAT that played by the game. You got to be the GOAT that let Nike make billions off of you. And then when you did break apart from Nike, you did it so fair to where Nike can still make money off your retro shoes. And you're not even really a competitor of Nike, because even your Jumpman makes Nike money. Nike getting a piece of that pot too. So you're not even all the way independent. You get what I'm saying? That's what you got to be as a black man to get a team. You got to be the GOAT of basketball. Right? You got to be the GOAT of basketball to get a basketball team. That makes no sense. But everyone else, hey, you just own a tech company. Own Alibaba. Own, Microsoft. I don't know. All you just got to do is have the money. If you any other demographic, if you got the money, you good. But for a black man, you got to be the GOAT of basketball. Now, imagine if Kyrie Irving was playing and most black athletes was paying for, let's say, if Ice Cube turned the Big Three into an actual league where you had 12-man rosters. You had team owners. Let's say you had, like I said, 15 teams, right? And out of those 15 teams, the ownership might have been, I don't know, let's say Jay-Z owned the team. Let's say Ice Cube was the commissioner, right? Let's say, some other people own squad. I don't know, Janet Jackson, maybe she got a squad, you know what I mean? And then all of the black athletes from the NBA actually went over to that league and was like, we go play here. Do you think that they would have suspended him for tweeting out Hebrews to Negroes? I don't think so. I mean, it's a possibility because our minds have been so whitewashed. You know what I mean? We really think like that. We want to be so fair because we really want white America to like us. We really want white America to be fair to us. So we go out of our way to be fair, even though we see them being unfair to us. Like, you can actually look here and look at 30 basketball teams with 28 or 29 white owners. You can look at that and then say that's fair because we got Jordan. We got a black owner, so it's fair. You can look at the NBA and see that the commissioner has always been a European guy. Never a woman, never a black guy. Right? You can look at that and be like, okay, that's cool. How do you look at that and not want to do something different? I don't understand, especially when you see situations like this. Let me get this comment. What's up, Wild Wild West? Is mental, and we had a cloud of denial covering us as a people. I agree 100%. I've been talking to people. If a Wild Wild West, if you're not part, make sure you subscribe to the channel and then go on Facebook and find Man Down. And it got about 4,000 people in that group. We had these conversations all the time. We talk about this stuff, and there's a lot of debate going on. So, and you're right. I've been saying this for a long time. You go in there and look at any post where we've been talking about this Kyrie Irving situation, and you'll see two different types of people. The people that got that cloud of denial, and then the people who really want to break the programming. Want to break the programming. They're trying to do Kyrie like Cap. Yep, I agree. And they're going to do it, and we're going to help them do it. They're going to do it, and we're going to help them. These 6 items they put in his on his plate to do before he can come back has set it up for him not to do it, and then give them, I guess the permission they need to go ahead and release them without paying them, right? So I can see it coming. Make trillions for Nike and NBA. Yep. We go past fair. We've been over backwards. Yeah. I mean, just think about it. Shannon Sharp, Stephen A. Smith, all these dudes, when they seen how they was doing Kyrie Irving, talking about you need to jump through all these hoops. They couldn't even come out and say, look, all right, I'm gonna be real. What he did wasn't even bad. He tweeted out a movie. Ain't nothing wrong with it. They can't even get to that part where they say, first of all, there's nothing wrong with that. I get if someone was offended, go ahead and apologize because you was offended, but you don't have to admit that you was wrong about that if you don't think, because there's nothing wrong about you tweeting out that movie, because the movie, there's nothing wrong with the movie. The movie was fine. There's nothing wrong with the movie. But yeah, you're right. We're bending over backwards because if you let them talk long enough, they will always say, like Shannon Sharp, he said, he was like, if someone did so and so to a black community, blah blah blah, whatever. It's always they always try to turn it around as like, you know, this is how I would want them to treat me if I was in this situation. But you can't do that, because we can never be in a situation to where someone posts a movie and that's it, and then we say that's anti-black. You need to take that down. We don't have that foundation set. Only anti-Semitism is set up that way. We'll never have it set up to where we say, oh, that movie is anti-black. Because I think any movie that depicts the people of the Bible as white Europeans is offensive. I think any movie that got white Egyptians is offensive. I think any movie or documentary that says aliens built the pyramids is offensive. I think any movie that's a biblical movie and everyone in the movie is white Europeans is offensive. You mean to tell me this is a book written to people from the continent? The book is written by people that lived in Africa on that continent to people that lived in Africa. But then when you give us a depiction of it on film, it's all white Europeans, and I'm not supposed to be offended by that. But we're not talking about that. Thanks for the sub, bro. The media is publicly insulting Kyrie's intelligence. Yeah. My bad. My mic cut off. But yeah, how docile we are. It's hard to believe. Let me finish this.
The way I was off tone using the examples I've used, when you're using terms that equate to slavery, those are off tone too. But either way, I'm here to own me, talk about me, and just acknowledge that like a boss and like a G.
Yeah. I don't have a problem with someone using an analogy. That's what an analogy is. It's not to disrespect people from that era that actually had to live through slavery, or people from that era after that actually had to live through the effects of slavery that was just, you know, one decade removed from it. You get what I'm saying? Yeah, it's not just being disrespectful. It's just an analogy. You can use an analogy. And yes, it's the perfect analogy of how the slave plantation was set up and how the sports plantation is set up. It's the same dynamic. The only difference is the slaves are getting paid, which is why this book is very important. Man, y'all gotta go get this book, man. $40 million Slave, William Roden. Let me move my hand so you can see his name. Y'all gotta go get this book for real. Really eye-opening. It's gonna change the way you look at sports. It's gonna change the way you look at media. And yeah, I mean, it's just crazy. And you seen it firsthand. Man. But that's it. I just wanted to get in here real quick, man. I didn't want to take 35 minutes. I actually wanted to be quicker, 15 minutes, man. But I'll catch y'all on the next live, man. Appreciate y'all.